All right, we're back for this next episode of Beyond the Skills podcast, where we talk business, we talk entrepreneurship, we talk real estate investing. We talk about anything that's pertinent to making money and building wealth and helping you guys skill up in your journey toward that goal. And today I got a special guest, a man that has built massive wealth, has done very, very well for himself. He's been on the program before, but I had to bring him back again because the man is sharp as a tack. And I just like to hang out with him because he's just a good old boy from South Carolina. Michael Byars, what's happening?
There you go. Hey, I appreciate the opportunity to be back, man. Thank you.
Absolutely, man. It's always good to hang out with you. When I get around you, I feel stupid because you're so smart when it comes to, just tech and gizmos and gadgets and automation and stuff. I'm like, Jesus Christ. This dude, last time he was at my house, made a bot for me, just listening to me, and was going to sell it to my audience. And I was like, whoa, I can't even, I don't even own a computer, and this guy's building bots, in my house. But anyway, it's good to have you back, though, Michael. We've been working on some things together, and we kind of want to talk about where's the opportunity right now. Right. And this is why I got you back in the podcast studio, because I feel like we both know, and you're a real estate investor just like me. You own 100 and how many units?
About 185 pieces.
185 units, zero debt, all paid cash. So it's not like you're not a seasoned vet in real estate. You know what's going on in real estate.
Oh yeah, for sure.
It's
going
rough.
down. Yeah, it's getting rough.
Yeah, I mean, you still do some flipping and rehabbing and all that stuff.
Yep, I'll still do a ton of that, but I can see the prices that I'm buying for is getting lower. And, the stuff the prices we're selling for is also going down as well. So, you can tell the market's starting to shift. You're just going to have to pivot and do the next best thing.
Yeah, that's right. And I'm not telling you guys this to scare you. You just got to know what's going on. And it's going to create a lot of opportunities, buying opportunities, but you also got to make sure you don't catch a falling knife.
Right. There'll be a ton of buying opportunities, but they're going to have to be able to buy it and hold it. Or if they're going to do fix and flips, they got to do that immediately. These $50,000, $60,000, $100,000 fix and flips that take 4 months, 5 months, 6 months, those are out the door. You got to do the $20,000 fix and flips that, take you 2 or 3 weeks and be done.
Yeah.
The turn, instead of, back 2 years ago, it's about the volume. How many could you do? Now it's going to be about the speed of the transaction. How fast can you do the transaction?
Yeah, that's right. But that's not why I had Michael come on. We don't want to get too deep in the weeds in real estate because right now I'm super excited to, talk about where I feel like is the real opportunity. We were talking earlier, Michael, how many baby boomers are retiring per day?
10,000 baby boomers are retiring every single day in the U.S.
How many 10,000. Of those? And a good portion of those guys got businesses.
Oh, yeah, for sure. So 47.5% of the U.S. works for a small business. If that gives you a scope of how big, the small business world is. 47.5% of all Americans are working for a small business, not a large corporation. So that means there's a ton of small businesses out there. There's a ton of opportunity.
Yeah. And the opportunity right now is buying a business.
That's it.
That's it. Not that there ain't going to be an opportunity going in the future with real estate, but I've got a lot of my focus on, if you guys follow me, I've been vertically integrating, adding on a lot of services to our business. We got a mobile home dealership license that we're now vertically integrated with our land home packages, so we can buy direct to the manufacturer and get the best prices to maximize profits and to infill our mobile home parks with brand new trailers. And in addition to that, we're selling to my following at wholesale prices so they can buy as cheap as they possibly can, infill their parks and do the land home packages. In addition to that, all the other stuff that you see me doing. We've got an HVAC company. Michael's got an HVAC company. I've got a junk removal business. Michael's got a property management company that he manages. How many do you manage?
Manage about 850 pieces total.
Wow. Yeah, Patty just started managing all of our Airbnbs, or I say all of them. She's slowly integrating where we're going to be managing all of them to take away back that 20%.
For sure.
That's a lot of money, right? And that's what we're going to be talking to you guys about, 4 things here: startups, vertical integration, bolt-ons, and mergers and acquisitions. because that is where the real opportunity is going to be at. If you haven't figured out lately, have you tried calling a plumber or a landscaper lately and gotten a price on what it costs to get anything fixed?
Not only the price, have you tried calling them to see how long it's going to take them to get there? 2 weeks, 3 weeks, see when we get time. You know, all that stuff's going up, and, you know, the time frame is just extending.
That's right. And the labor rate is just through the roof. You know, I mean, when I had mechanic businesses back in 2005, our labor rate was $35 to $45 an hour. The labor rate now is $135 to $150.
Right.
That is is that a 4.5x increase in just 20 years? So I don't see that going down at all, because there's a shortage. And if you understand supply and demand, what there's a lack of is a lack of supply and high demand, price goes up.
That's right.
And that's where we're seeing, because everybody that went to college, Michael, got underwater basket weaving degrees.
That's
and
it.
Studying gay frogs in the wild, and they could tell you all about that. But shit, they can't fix an engine, they can't change a tire, they can't fix an AC, and they can't even landscape the front of their house.
They're too worried about being Instagram famous, Chris. We go rent them a Lamborghini.
That's right. We can
take a bunch of pictures.
They can be an influencer. Yeah. And look, and those days are going to come to an end here soon.
Oh, for sure.
If you don't have real working skills, like actual skills that are pertinent to today's marketplace, you're going to get hosed.
For sure. You know, you can just think about the way the market changed when we were young. You know, there was MySpace, you know, and AOL. AOL doesn't even exist anymore. MySpace doesn't exist anymore. Facebook, Instagram, TikTok took over. But what the kids now that are TikTok superstars or, you know, Instagram influencers don't realize is those days are coming to an end too. Times will change on them as well.
Yeah. It's all cyclical. It comes in cycles, right? What's that old saying? Good times create, good times create weak men create bad times create strong men create good times. Right. We're definitely in the weak men create tough times cycle right now.
Absolutely. I mean, you've seen the stuff going on in California, people dressed in cat and dog costumes out there fighting the police. I mean, weak is the definition.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. But let's dive deep into this, Michael, because, you know, me and you, if you haven't heard, me and Michael have partnered up.
Yep.
We've created Allies Entrepreneurs and Allies Entrepreneur Elite. We just did a mastermind last night at our house, pouring into, you know, the crowd on startups, vertical integration, bolt-on, and mergers and acquisition, and where the opportunity's at. Right. And we want to break down for you guys the pros, the cons of each individual one on startup, vertical integration, mergers and acquisition, because startups ain't for everybody.
Nope.
Mergers.
Neither are mergers or acquisitions.
It ain't. Yeah, we talked about this last night. It depends on where you're at in your life cycle as an entrepreneur. If you're 22 years old, you probably shouldn't be buying a $4.5 million HVAC company with 25 employees.
Right.
And if you're, 55 years old and you're just looking for something to do as an entrepreneur, you probably shouldn't be doing a startup HVAC company from scratch. Right. You have to figure out an unfair advantage, right? A durable unfair advantage. And that's what we're going to talk about on these 4 steps. So, Michael, let's talk about, and you've done all these.
Right. I've done every bit of them.
You've done startups, you've done vertical integration, you've done bolt-ons, and you've done tons of acquisitions.
Yeah. Mergers or acquisitions.
Yeah. And now you have this huge platform, and it seems like you just keep bolting on more and more, and creating more and more revenue. Your company's conglomerate do, what's your revenue on average?
Around $140 million a year.
$140 million a year. Yep. It's not chump change. That's a lot of moving parts.
It is.
So you can't just have squirrel brains and get that done.
No chasing shiny objects.
That's right. So, but let's get into how you built that, right? How did you build companies that are equated to $140 million worth of revenue? You know, let's back, because I know we went over your story at the first podcast where you started, but I don't want to get too deep in the weeds. But what does it take to actually get to $140 million in revenue?
It takes crazy work ethic. It takes skills, skills that you're going to learn over time in business, or you're going to pay someone else to learn. But you got to be a good marketer. You got to be a good salesperson. You've got to build that foundation before you can build up. It's like building a house. Would you build a house that's 3,000 square foot on 4 2x4s? Absolutely not, because it's going to crumble. Same way with a business. As long as you build that solid foundation, you can build it up as high as you need. But that foundation or platform is going to be extremely important.
And Michael's not an Instagram star. He's not an influencer, guys. Just in case, I vet all these guys. I was in his plane all day long today. He took me to see three of my parks. Yep. In his
today and yesterday.
And yesterday in his private plane. One of his private planes. He has how many? Three private planes. He's a real entrepreneur doing real deals. So you got to worry about him. Being, taking pictures of Lambos and all that stuff. You don't have Lambos. You don't have a Lambo, huh? No, you just have three planes.
People will rent you a Lambo. They won't rent you an airplane.
You can't rent an airplane, huh? No. So let's go over. So just for you guys that are watching, maybe 20 years old, 25, you don't really understand the difference between a startup, which a startup's pretty self-explanatory, but I don't think a lot of people understand what a, vertical integration is, a bolt-on and an acquisition, merger and acquisition. But let's just start off with a startup. What is a startup, Michael?
I mean, it's going to be, you're starting from scratch, from zero. You got no marketing, no sales, no website, no brand, no design, not even an LLC. You've got to start. You got to get that LLC. You got to go get insurance. You got to go get everything that you need to get going, whether it be tools, a truck. If it's some sort of trade, you probably got to go get a little bit of schooling, right? If you're going to start something up, you've got to learn how to perform the thing, whatever it is you're going to start up, right? So there's a learning curve in all this stuff.
Yeah. And let's talk about the pros and cons of it too, because, me and you've talked about this for the past couple of days, the pros and cons. Right. He's kind of, just full transparency, Michael is like the biggest anti-startup. I like startups. I fancy myself as being really good at startups. I've succeeded more than I failed at startups. I have had some failures at startup, but I shut them down quick, licked my wounds and moved on. But I've had quite a bit of luck starting from scratch. Shit, out of the back of my truck, like literally out of the back of my truck when I was 22, started an oil change and car wash and auto glass business and scaled it to nothing when I was 22 all the way till I was 26 to 4 locations, physical locations. And doing about $3.5 million, $4 million bucks in revenue between all 4 locations. It was tough. I ain't gonna say it was very tough. And I want to give you guys some value on, if you want to do a startup from scratch and you're young, you're gonna need 4 things: an insane work ethic. You're gonna need sales skills. You're gonna need marketing skills. And you're going to need to diversify inside the same verticals. And not just offer oil change or just you just do tires or you just do auto glass. The reason I was able to scale to 4 locations so quick is because I didn't just have an oil change shop. I was a one-stop shop, right? I vertically integrated inside the same vertical and diversified inside the same vertical. You pulled into my shop, we had a checklist. We're going to get you for an oil change, an inspection sticker, a tire rotation. We're going to check your brake pads. When we pull your tires off, we're going to check your windshield for a rock chip. We're going to pop the hood. We're going to check your air filter, wiper blades. We're going to get you for something that you need. Now, right. And you say, well, Chris, you're just trying to sell us something. Yes, I'm just trying to sell you something. That's the name of the game. You say something all the time. People what?
They're already there. People pay for convenience. They'll pay more for convenience. They're already there. If they have to go somewhere else to get the rock chip fixed, or they have to go somewhere else to get their tires rotated, they're probably going to have to take off work or take off time away from their family. They're already there. Yes, they're going to pay you for it because that's one less place they've got to go, one less thing on their list.
That's right. And I can tell you that, that helped me scale is by having all those services. If I just did all changes, no way I could have had more than one location. Right. Because I wouldn't. What diversification inside the same vertical does is it creates way more profits, way more opportunities to upsell, and way more efficiencies.
For sure.
And that's what helped me. But for you young guys, if you're looking to do a startup, you better be willing to work 7 days a week for 5 years.
Better be hungry. Better be willing to work 26 hours a day, 8 days a week.
That's right. And it's going to suck, right? But here's the thing. If you can do that and make it, you're going to be so lean and mean. I like lean and mean, right? Because if that is the pros of doing a startup. If it doesn't work out, you may not, especially on the service business side, you buy some tools, you got a truck, and if it don't work out, you bought maybe a couple $1,000s worth of tools at best. Now, the downside of that is it's all heavy lift. You're going to be the accountant, the janitor,
everything, yeah.
The sales guy, the marketer, and you got to be the operator and do all the work all at the same time to get it off the ground. If you got the wherewithal to do that and the smarts to do that, hey, have at it. You know, you can be successful at it. But the con of that, well, let's look at the pro of that. Low barrier to entry.
Yep.
Doesn't require a ton of capital, but requires a ton of effort. Now, let's look at some of the mistakes that you guys are going to make that I'm thinking back of what I made, and that was I didn't understand marketing. These kids these days that are entrepreneurs haven't made. I didn't have all these tools that they have for marketing.
No, Facebook wasn't there. You couldn't run ads there. You couldn't run Google ads. You couldn't do any of that stuff.
Text blasts,
all that's there.
PPC, SEO. I didn't have all that coming up, or that just started to come out, and I didn't quite understand it. So for you guys that are starting, if insane work ethic, understand marketing and sales. The best entrepreneurs are the ones that are experts and are animals at marketing and sales. Who cares if you're the best? You could be the best mechanic, but if you can't generate leads to get cars in the shop, who cares?
Yeah, if you don't get any jobs, it's tough to fix. Nothing.
That's right. So that's kind of the pros and cons of, a startup is that, you're going to be doing everything. It's low risk on the money side. If it fails, you can walk away from it and just, you might hurt your pride in a couple $1,000, but it's going to be an extreme amount of effort. Now, let's move on, Mike, because you've done startups too. I mean, let's talk about your startup. They already know about my startup. What was your startup that you did?
Yeah, I started a tech company that, I dropped out of college to start, and it was super slow, just like we just talked about, super slow, and it was a heck of a grind. I mean, it was 16, 18 hours a day for, 7 days a week for, 4, 5, 6 years before it really took off and actually hit. But, I still have it today, and it does well. I enjoy it, and, that is kind of the platform to everything that I buy. I'm going to buy stuff where I can add value through technology. It has become the cornerstone for everything that I do today, but it didn't become the cornerstone on its own. I had to put in a ton of work, a lot of sleepless nights, a lot of long hours, a lot of time away from my family.
Yeah, you're going to sacrifice.
Absolutely.
Yeah, there's a price to pay, and this ain't for everybody, right? And look, you may watch this and be like, man, I'd rather stick to my job. That's okay.
It is.
There's nothing wrong with having a high paying. If you could get a job making $500,000 or $200,000 to $500,000, and you leave work at 5 and you don't get bothered, or have to worry about work, and you have a 401k and you got health insurance and dental, that's not a
bad gig.
That's not a bad gig at all, right? But if you can't handle anxiety, depression, stress, getting stolen from,
oh yeah,
getting your life threatened, I mean, dude, that's the realities of being an entrepreneur. I mean, it's tough out there. So let's move on to, so we talked about startups. They understand what startups are now. Let's talk about vertical integration. What exactly is vertical integration?
It's where you have a platform company. Let's say my property management company I have. I'm going to buy something in that realm to be able to, I'm going to buy one of the companies that's already servicing one of the companies I have.
Tell these guys what a platform company means.
So, for example, in the real estate space, my platform company is the property management company. Every other company kind of hinges off of that. It manages my real estate properties. I've got, I manage 850 properties. What are the problems that the tenants have or my other investors have or I have? Our heating and air goes out. Our plumbing goes out. We need new septic tanks. I bought a forestry mulching company to go do land clearing for development. All that stuff is vertical integration from the property management company. Who am I spending the money with? What other companies or other services am I spending the money with? And how can I go buy those? You're going to make a little extra money, number one. But number two, you're going to be able to control that process a lot easier. Like we were talking the other day, most of those guys that are buying used mobile homes from when you buy it, or not used, but new, when you buy it versus when you get it set up, ready to move a tenant in, normally the normal time span is about 3 months. Where I own everything and I'm vertically integrated in that space, I can get that same 3-month job done in 3 to 4 weeks. I'm doing 3 to year 1. Yep. See what I'm saying? That's why vertical integration is so important.
What does vertical integration do for you?
It allows you to control the process. It allows you to make a little bit extra money. But, like we were talking earlier, the plumbing companies, the heating and air companies, all those guys, they're 2 weeks out. You call them up and, I'll get to you in 2 weeks. I want a plumbing company, a heating and air company. If I've got a tenant that has a problem, they get service that day. Any overflow that we have or any stagnant time that our guys have, we take outside customers. But my homes that I manage and my homes that I own get first priority every time. And because of that, I've been able to pick up a lot of investors just because I can offer a service that nobody else does. Everybody else, all the other property management companies, if the tenants have a problem, they're having to wait a week and a half, 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks. I can go get them done that day. I only service, all of our stuff comes first, then we take outside.
Yeah, saves you time.
Yeah, absolutely. And it makes in the real estate business, your tenants are your customers. It makes your customers happy. Yeah. And that's the goal. That's how I was able to grow the tech company. I sold a lot of the same stuff that a lot of the other people out there in the tech business sold. But the difference in me is, we ran 24 hours a day service. We ran 7 days a week service, 365 days a year service. When I first started, that was not heard of. Nobody did that. Absolutely nobody. But we did, and we were able to pick up a lot of customers just because we gave better service.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, vertical integration is the key to scaling, creating more efficiencies, becoming more profitable, like you say, controlling the process and controlling the whole from start to finish. Vertical integration for us guys is, we own, we wholesale, we flip, we do buy and hold, which I talk about all the time, fast, medium, and slow money, the speed and velocity at which you get paid in real estate and in business. And if you can have verticals and if you can have services in the same space of like you said, businesses that you're already using. You own an HVAC company. I started an HVAC company because we're constantly changing ACs from all the flips we do.
Yeah, absolutely.
All the rental properties we have. When in the summer heat, like right now, we get a call almost every other day. Yep. It's a couple times a week.
2 or 3 a week. That's what we get.
Yep. And every time that's minimum you're gonna spend $250, $350 minimum. Most likely $500 to $700, and sometimes you're stroking checks for $2,000 or $3,000 to change out a unit. Why not have that in-house? Why not have that to where you profit and you get your stuff done first, right? We have a junk removal business. We have clean outs all the time. I get my boys to go and make a few extra bucks. The mobile home park business, we got the dealership license, right? That's all vertical integration for us. So you have to start thinking about, how can you cheat legally, morally, and ethically? And that's vertical integration. If you ask me, that's cheating. Smartly, right?
I don't know if it's cheating. It's
being smart. It's smart business.
That's smart business.
But you'd be shocked.
Exactly what it is.
You would be shocked, Michael, the people that do business and they offer just one thing.
That's it. And they want to stick to only that one thing. Don't want to vary outside the lines.
And I'm like, dude, why are you just doing that? You already at their house. Offer this too.
Right. Start
doing roofing. If you're a roof cleaning company, why aren't you a roofer too?
Sides and gutters.
Yeah. Offer gutters, exactly.
Clean the gutters, install the gutters.
Right. You cutting grass. Why aren't you landscaping also?
Right.
things, people don't realize that you can, if you're already at their house, you're saving time. You can give them a quote on landscaping too.
You're going to save them time too. And right back to what we were talking about earlier, people will pay for convenience. You're already there. I can go ahead and knock this out for you. You don't have to wait on, chucking a truck to come over to landscape the stuff. I can do it for you today.
Yeah.
I mean, how many times they're already spending money with you, which means they know you, they like you, they trust you. How many times do you think they're going to say no if you can already do what they need done and you're already there?
Yeah. And we talked about this. You got two verticals. For vertical integration, you got the startup side and you got the acquisition side of vertical integration. Like, you can start a brand new company. Like, I like to just start a brand new company. The dealership, the mobile home dealership, was a brand new company, but not really, because I already had pre-existing customers that I could sell to. So it's very risk adverse, because it's really not starting from scratch. You have the customers lined up and they're there, and you're just matching your customers with your new service that they're going to use you if you just offer it to them. So there's not a whole lot of risk in that vertical integration on the startup side. Now, there's the other side of that. If you look at the vertical integration, you got two fingers. You got startup, which I just mentioned, and you got the acquisition side, which you like.
I do like it. Yep.
You bolt on and buy a property management company. You bought a plumbing company. You bought an AC company. You didn't just start it from scratch like I did.
No.
Let's talk about that, because that's vertical integration, but just a different realm of it.
Right. You like to start it up, and that works for you. For me, I'm looking to go in and buy cash flow. I want to have cash flow day one, and I'm looking to buy an established company. I'm looking to buy the employees. I want to buy the trucks. I want to buy the tools of the trade. I want to buy the inventory. I don't want to have to go out and recreate the process, right? That doesn't bother you. I don't like that type of stuff. I'd rather buy something, bring in technology, really be able to scale it up, 2-3x it in the first year or two, and just roll on. Keep using that company for the other companies that I have. It's just, for me, it's so much easier. Does it cost a little more? Yeah, absolutely. But I'm buying time. I'm paying for the skill sets and everything that the old owner has learned, has done, has bought, and has built. All I'm doing is buying my time back. I know day one I'm going to walk into $300,000 to $400,000 a year cash flow. I'm buying cash flow and I'm buying time back. In your average startup, it's going to take you, 6 months to start seeing a profit, and statistically 95% of startups fail in the first 5 years. Less than 10% of acquisitions fail in the first 5 years.
It's a huge stat.
It is.
The stats don't lie.
That's correct. So, for me, if I'm going to gamble and bet on something, I'm going to take the 90% chance of winning versus the 5% chance of winning every day of the week.
Yeah, makes sense to me, but that's a different skill set. It's a highly fine-tuned skill set, which we're going to talk about here next on the mergers and acquisition side, or on the acquisition side. But you probably ask yourself, well, Chris, how are you? I get how Michael's doing it. He's buying businesses that bolt on. And, he's buying cash flow, like he says, and then bringing value through automation, technology, and creating more efficiencies. But how are you starting an HVAC company, Chris, if you don't know how to do HVAC? Because I don't know how to do HVAC. I didn't know how to change brakes. I know how to change oil, and I can change windshields, but I don't know how to fix an engine. But I had 4 automotive repair places.
Right.
You don't
hire
need
good people.
You hire good people, and that's it, right? You don't have to be you don't have to know everything. You just really, what you need is marketing, sales, understand the operations, which is the flow of the who's doing what, and having all your hats written up and all your your processes and systems written up. That's more leadership skills than anything.
That's it. Build out those standard operating procedures, get everything lined out. All your financials, understand what they are, get all that stuff documented. Build out the SOPs. If one of the employees quits, how are you going to train the next one fast? Get everything written out so they can just read it and understand how to change brakes.
Yeah.
How to change a tire.
That's right. And I did one thing, I learned about, always measure your stats. When I was 22 years old, I joined a business mastermind. It was like $100 a month. It was the best thing I ever did when I was in college. It was outside of college, by the way. And they told me everything was managed by statistics. They said, Chris, you manage a business by statistics, not your opinion. Not
your opinion doesn't pay the bills.
That's right. He says, imagine if you drive in a car and your gas gauge guessed how much gas you had and guessed how fast you went. I'll never forget that, Mike. I was 22 years old when a man told me that. He said, and I was like, you know what? That is so true. You have to have a cluster, a cluster just like you have in a car. A cluster is all your gauges. You have to have that for a business.
That's it.
And you got to manage by statistics. You take what is a statistic? It's a measure of an output of a particular service or product. It could be the revenue company. It could be the amount of brake jobs you did, the amount of windshields you did, the amount of oil change, whatever it is in your business. And you measure that. And you measure it against future and past measurements. And you have a graph.
That's it.
And it shows where your business is at. And I remember every single day I'd have every manager before they left, they had to text and call the office for a stat. How many oil changes we did, how many brake jobs, how many windshield repairs, how many windshield replacements. And then we had to showed them how to do a net profit. I would make them what we charged and minus off all the parts and what was the true net profit. And then I knew, and they would text that in, the gross and the net. And I knew what my payroll was, and I would get a true net every single day on all 4 shops. So I knew where we were at every single day. Most business owners do not do that, Michael.
No.
They guess. They just look at their business account. So I'm telling you guys, because there's a lot of stuff that you don't get taught in school that you can learn from masterminds and coaches in business that you really just, frankly speaking, your professor in college is not going to show you this kind of stuff.
Well, normally your professor in college, even in business class, has never had a business. They're teaching you from theory, from books that they read. At the end of the day, there's a lot of stuff that you're not going to learn through a book. You're only going to learn from getting your teeth kicked in and experience, making mistakes. That's how you learn. But, like you were talking about the masterminds, I've done the same thing. Went to masterminds, met other people, and learned from their mistakes. That saved me a ton of stuff, ton of time, ton of money, and saved me from making dumb mistakes that, things other people have seen in the industries that probably down the road I would have seen.
Yeah.
But I would have probably made the same mistake they did.
All right. So, Michael, now we talked about startups. We talked about vertical integration. We talked about bolt-ons. Let's talk about acquisitions, which is really,
all right.
That's I would say that's the king ding-a-ling of, excuse my French, social media, YouTube. That is the upper echelon and the highest skill set needed to really crush a game. I mean, private equity is not doing startups.
No.
Private equity is not, they may be doing bolt-ons, but not until after they've bought a bunch of companies.
You gotta have a platform company first.
Right. They have a platform company. Let's talk about what is M&A? What is all that? And let's get into that.
I mean, it's where you're going to go buy a company that's already producing cash flow, or you're going to merge with another company in your realm that's already producing cash flow. The private equity guys, the bigger guys, they're buying cash flow. They don't care what the gizmo or gadget, heating and air, plumbing, rocket science, it doesn't matter. It's got the cash flow. And, they're buying assets and companies that already have the infrastructure built out. They've got, the employees. They've got the tools, the trucks, all of that stuff. They've been in business for a while. They've got their name established. That's what I buy. I'm buying stuff that's, 1 to 5 to 7 million. I want 10 employees or more. I want them to be in business 10 years or more. I'm looking for 25% plus profit margin. If not, it's just not for me. Not saying it's not for somebody, but it's definitely not for me. For me, that's been the safest place for me to buy in. Everything's solid. It's on the lower end, but it's still.
And when you say you're buying it, Michael, are you paying cash, SBA loans, owner finance, a little bit of everything?
I mean, there's tons of options there's an option for everyone out there, right? Especially if you're going to get an SBA loan, you're going to have to pay 10% down. You're going to have to put up, personally guarantee the loan, which means putting up your house or some assets, right? If you're going to do owner finance or some sort of creative finance, there's tons of different options. The more creative you are, the better it is. But I can tell you, if you're planning on going out there and doing a creative finance deal, it's got to be a win-win for both sides. You know, it can't be where you win and the person you're buying it from loses. It's just lopsided, and it can't be where they win and you lose. You know, we go buy these companies because, you know, companies that are in motion and things that are in motion tend to stay in motion. That's why, you know, as I told you earlier, only less than 10% of companies that are acquired or mergers fail in the first 5 years versus 95% failure rate on startups. You know, the bank will go give you a loan to go to college, but they won't give you a $10,000 loan to start a startup. You know, so that's a lot of the reason a lot of people are doing those mergers and acquisitions now. You know, you can get them financed. If you go down there and tell the bank you want to do you need to borrow $2 million because you're going to start up a heating and air company, they're going to laugh at you all the way out the door, right? But if you go down there and say, hey, I'm looking to go buy XYZ heating and air, you know, they're grossing $3 million a year, they're netting $1 million a year. Will you let me borrow $3 million to go buy this? They're going to say, absolutely. You're netting $1 million a year. Your debt service is going to be about $450,000, $500,000 a year. You got $500,000 a year to play with. You'll get a salary out of that. Hopefully you spend some of that money on growth, sales, more salespeople, better marketing, spend some money to help grow that company. You know, the banks know that. You know, the bank's sole purpose in being a business on their end is when they loan you money, all they care about is how you're going to pay them back, how they get even. The interest is just, that's their profit. They care about getting even first, right? The banks aren't going to let you get in some wonky deal, you know, paying $4 million for something that's cash flowing $100,000. You know, they're going to run like a second layer of due diligence for you. Yeah. Because they're just not going to loan your money willy-nilly.
Yeah. Now, when you're looking at these deals, is it kind of like real estate investing where we're looking for a value add property, we're looking for distress, where we can increase the rents, where we can increase the value of the property? You're doing the same thing with a business, right? You're trying to
absolutely not. No, I'm not buying distressed stuff. No turnarounds, no any of that stuff. It's got to be cash flowing. It's got to be generating revenue. I'm buying the exact opposite. I want it to be coasting along. Nobody has to fool with it. Nobody has to touch it. I can go in there and look at it and understand how I can grow it, but it's got to be solid before I even touch it.
You call that a what, Michael? A turnaround?
Oh, yeah, turnaround's the trash business.
So when I told Michael I did that with four shops, every one of the shops I bought...
It was a turnaround.
It was a turnaround. Every one of them was distressed, wasn't making... I turned around every single one of them.
It's just a grind, though.
It was tough. I mean, it was probably some of the toughest years of my life. I mean, it was brutal. So,
but think if you would have went in there and bought them already cash flowing, generating good revenue day one, how much easier your life would have been. And at that point, instead of working in the business, you could have been working on the business.
Well, there was revenue, but the owners were making a lot of bad mistakes. They're on drugs. They were just...
I don't get it.
I don't want to say it was too bad, but it was right. Bad, but it was like they had money. They had money coming in. I knew I had a superior marketing and sales strategy, and I just brought that in there. And every shop, I just came and just doubled the sales right away, every one. So, but... Thinking back on it now, after I'm 20 years wiser and older and talking to you, I wish as a young man when I'm 22 years old to say, hey, you know, I probably would have done it smarter.
Right.
I mean, I made a great living off those shops for a while, but it probably wasn't the most.
But there was a better
economic.
way.
There was a better.
See now, right? It's not not what you did at that time was wrong. It's just there was a better and an easier way.
Yes, a smarter way.
But you didn't know it then. And
I didn't.
You don't know what you don't know.
I didn't know. I was just hungry, Michael. Whatever opportunity was thrown at me, I would
Gobble
go after.
It up.
Yeah, it was because you don't get too many opportunities when you're 25, right? Reflecting back, I don't know. Knowing what I know now, I don't know if I'd have did that again. I would have did it a lot smarter.
I wouldn't have.
No,
but,
it was tough. It was really, really tough. But I love, and I love how you're coming in and you're buying cash flow. you're bringing value. You're looking, and you said something. If you can't bring value to the company, you're not going to buy it.
I won't touch it. No.
When you say you can't bring value, you mean if you can't drive more revenue and make it more efficient, you're not buying it. Talk about that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking for stuff where, I can grow the company through technology, through automation, any type of stuff like that. I'm looking to automate the boring, mundane task. I'm looking to be able to 2X or 3X that company in the first, really 6 to 18 months. But I'm looking to do that through technology or some sort of little marketing tweaks or sales tweaks that I see.
What's an example of that, which we talked about? I mean, you got some of these owners, you can buy their companies, they still write invoices, handwritten invoices.
Right. Yeah, I mean, move it over to technology.
Does that happen a lot with businesses you're looking at?
Absolutely. I like a lot of businesses that I like to buy stuff that they don't have a marketing plan. Maybe they're not doing any marketing, or they're still using stuff that's worked for them for the last 30 years, but there's so much easier way to do it now. There's some companies I bought in the past. They were still handwriting receipts. We moved on to technology. I bought a company a few years back. We didn't change anything, didn't add any more people, didn't add any more trucks, just moved it to technology, streamlined everything, made sure we were getting paid for everything, and was able to 4X it just through bringing in different marketing strategies and technology.
I mean, you talk about automation and technology. I can't, when you say technology, my brain doesn't think that way because I'm not good with technology, right?
Right.
For me, when I look at a company, is if they don't have any marketing or sales strategy, but they've built up this great business of goodwill. They just have this pre-existing loyal customer base, but they have no marketing and no sales department. I know for a fact
you can use the value add. You can add value to it.
I can boom that company. I could probably add 20% in revenue, maybe 30%, just by adding in marketing and a good sales process. Now, the automation and technology, what that does, that just makes it more efficient, saves you time, makes it more profitable.
It buys back that time and allows those employees to do revenue generating activities instead of, the boring stuff every day.
Yeah. And the technology is getting better and better.
Absolutely. Every month it gets better.
Exponentially, like AI and ChatGPT. I mean, it's unbelievable what they have now that's happening. Now, there's a lot of bullshit I see on social media saying, AI is going to take everybody's job.
I ain't never seen a computer change my tire.
Thank you. I'm glad. And we didn't talk about this, by the way, before. I made a post the other day that I called bullshit on all the AI propaganda. It's fear mongering.
So what AI is going to do is if you're inclined and you will work, it is going to make your job easier. But if you are lazy, it is going to get rid of you. It's going to get rid of all the people that have just been coasting along.
It's going to get rid of all the weak links.
Yep. Because AI can replace them. If you're doing a job, and you're doing enough work in a week, what you should be doing in a day, I can replace you with AI. Yeah. If you're doing work in 5 days that a normal person could get done in 6 or 7 days, AI will never replace you. Never.
Yeah.
But I mean, I've never seen AI come out and hang a door for me.
Well, that's what I said. Michael's like, dude, I'm just gonna say some guru that I think is absolutely full of shit. He buys, he tells everybody to buy properties with no equity, subject to, even though it's got just because it's got a low interest rate, if it's cash flows, like it don't matter if it's upside down. Like it's absolute bullshit because you make money when you buy, right? He's violating the basic principle of real estate. You make money when you buy. That's the fundamentals. I watched a reel that he said, or somebody sent me something, said, yeah, you got to get into real estate and you got to buy my course because everybody's job, and keyword, everybody's job will be erased. That's bullshit. You just said something. AI is not going to fix my toilet.
No.
AI is not going to fix my air conditioner.
No.
It may figure out a way to cut my grass. It may eventually figure out some type of way to change my roof and shingles. But man, that might be that. They just like they tried. It's all fear mongering and scare tactics to buy something, right? What fossil fuels? The world's the world is so full of pollution from the fossil fuels. We need electric cars. Look where electric cars went. We need to get away from electricity, or from regular electricity, and we need to have solar power. Look where the solar industry is right now.
Right.
That was all a big scam.
That's it.
It's all bullshit. So I'm telling you guys this. Don't get scared that AI is going to take your job. It's a tool.
It is a tool, and if you are efficient and you are hungry, it will make your job and it will make you better. If you're lazy, it's going to take your job.
Yeah, for sure. It's just going to streamline business.
Absolutely.
But it ain't going to get rid of labor.
No.
And now they say, well, we've got robots that can do this and that. Yeah, I get that there's robots, but robots can't think. They can't solve problems. They have to be programmed.
It's X's and O's, and there are X's or zeros and ones, and it's only going to do what you tell it to do.
Right. Yeah, it's not going to be a problem solve.
No.
So, I mean, I'm excited about AI. I know there's going to be some stuff that gets disrupted, but it's not going to disrupt like people are saying. I'm not worried. Are you worried about it?
Absolutely not.
Yeah, especially in the blue collar trades, in the service industry, where you're actually hands-on physical labor. Now, manufacturing, I do think it's going to disrupt more than anything, because it's a systemized process that's duplicatable over and over and over.
It is, but manufacturing employees aren't the same as they used to be. You got a lot of lazy people going there hanging out, just milking the clock. It's not like it was 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 40 years ago. Yeah.
But regardless, you understand technology. You have a technology background. You got a full ride to Clemson for engineering, didn't you?
Yep, for chemical engineering.
Yeah, and you understand automation. You understand how to bring value to a business, and obviously you know what you're doing. You've bought, how many companies you own now?
I've got 20 under management currently. 20
companies under management, 170-something properties, free and clear, paid cash. You obviously know what you're doing.
I try.
You try. But look, we're coming to the end of this podcast. The opportunity is definitely in buying a business.
Absolutely it is. And it's way more than, I know we both enjoy and love real estate, but the opportunity in buying businesses is way more than the real estate market currently, just because that market's getting soft. You've got to find some way to generate cash flow and generate revenue to be able to go buy these businesses as that market dips.
Well, I never see. There's a lot of people on social media say, look at me, you can buy rental property and live off your cash flow. And dude, that's all bullshit. Like, real estate does not cash flow like a business.
No, I mean,
it's not even close.
My average business is going to have a net cash flow of 25 to 30%. Yeah. My average rental, I don't know about yours, but my average rental after you pay to fix, toilets, tenants, termites, you're looking at 12%.
Yeah, I was going to say 10 to 15%. Yep.
Mine's at about 12 to 13%.
Yep. And it's a lot of moving parts, a lot of debt for that little bit of a return. Whereas a business is going to print money, and it's a lot of moving parts too. Don't get me wrong, but the cash flow is way better.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean you don't do real estate.
You got to do both. You got to make the money in the companies, and you got to go over there and preserve it in real estate.
Yeah, you do both.
Absolutely.
That's the name of the game.
That is the game. Make the money here, stick it over here.
Real estate without business and business without real estate is like a glove without a hand in the winter. You need both, especially now. You could get away with just doing real estate 4 years ago.
Oh, yeah,
prior to 2022, when the market, you could be a complete freaking, just a retard. Excuse my French. And you could do good at real estate, because if you made a mistake,
didn't matter.
Inflation carried you. Yep. You made a mistake flipping a property, so what? The market, by the time you finished, put it back on the market went up another 15, 20%, covered over your mistake.
Right. It's not that way anymore. Those mistakes are going to show up.
That's right. If you don't really, really know what you're doing, and you can't buy super, super discounted, you're hosed. And I know that because I watched everybody, and most of the people in my space that are my competition are done.
Yep.
And I told people for years, if you can't steal it legally, morally, and ethically, you're going to be out of this business. I've been saying that for years, and it come home. The chickens have come home to roost.
Yep.
Real estate is on the rocks. If you didn't buy right, you got exposed, and you're hurting right now. And the real opportunity is diversifying in vertically integrating, meshing your real estate business with mergers, acquisition, vertical integration, startups.
Yep.
That's where the play's at. How do I know? Because that's what I'm doing. That's what I've been doing. You guys been watching me.
Yeah,
Michael's been doing this for 20 years.
Yep.
I've been doing real estate for 17 years. Well, full-time, 11 years. This is how you're going to make it going into the future. All you guys that follow me are mostly real estate investors. You need to get more on the entrepreneur side. You need more fast money. Wholesaling and flipping is not like it used to be. There's not as many deals. People are sitting on their low interest rate. They're sitting on all their equity. You need more fast money. The opportunity is in you buying a business or doing some vertical integration through your real estate company. If I'm a guy that's been following me and all you do is wholesaling and flipping, you got a few rentals, I'm focusing on vertical integration to generate more revenue. With that said, Michael and I, tag team, we've partnered up. We've created Allies Entrepreneur and Allies Entrepreneur Elite. We're going to have a website here soon, up alliesentrepreneur.com. We're going to be helping you guys vertically integrate. I'm going to be helping you guys with startups. I'm not the professional at acquisitions. I don't claim to be. That's why me and Michael partnered up. Michael is an absolute stud at acquisitions. We're both pretty good at vertical integration. We do a bunch of that. I've done a lot of startups. I would say I'm pretty good at that. We've come together. We're going to create a program. We're going to roll out to my audience, you guys. If you need help with your, maybe you're just a wholesaler or a flipper right now, and you're struggling with revenue.
Looking for the next thing.
This is your next thing. This is what you need to be doing. You need to go either buy a business or add a service to what you're already doing. If you don't, you're gonna sink. I talked about this last night.
Standing on quicksand now.
You are. It's everybody's sinking.
Yep.
Everybody's sinking. And I saw this a year ago, and I told my wife, I said, Patty, if we don't start making moves now, this thing ain't getting no better.
Right.
We can't just depend on just flipping and wholesaling, because that's going to drive. I watched it quarter after quarter get tighter and tighter. Now, am I still doing a bunch of deals? Yes. I've got 20-something deals going right now. We're killing it with the land home package because it's affordable housing. We're killing it with Allies, the wholesale distributorship that we started for the mobile home business. We're doing really well with that because we're selling back to ourselves, so our margins are so well. But that's really a business. That's not real estate. It's a business that I vertically integrated into my real estate. Yep. So that's why we're crushing it. I started a text blast company for two reasons. I can sell text blasting to other entrepreneurs and real estate investors, but now I'm doing text blasts with all of my other companies for barely any cost. Right. So that's a business. That's vertical integration. But Michael and I are going to start doing coaching and mentoring, and you're going to come out to every Allies now. Yep. He's going to be a part of the Allies brand, Allies Mastermind, and he's going to come out and he's going to train you guys on how to do all this stuff. And Michael, what are some of the things you're going to show them as we wrap this up? What are some of the things you're going to show them how to do? What can they expect from the program?
We're going to show them how to find the deals, how they're going to fund the deals, what they're going to do to grow the business once they actually acquire it. How they can scale it up, what they're looking for, what's going to really turn the knobs and the needles to make it grow. And then, if they want to exit, if they're buying in order to resell, show them exactly how that I'm doing that as well. We'll show them everything about it. We're not going to hold anything back, man. Not nothing, because we're here to help everyone.
That's right. And for you younger guys, I'm going to show you guys and train you on startups and vertical integration. Michael's going to be on the other end of the spectrum on mergers and acquisition and vertical integration, but on more bolt-ons that you're buying. I'm going to do vertical integration on startups and where we meet in the middle in our skill sets. Right. It's going to be a beautiful thing.
For sure.
And we're going to help a lot of people.
That's the goal.
Let's do it. So, Michael, where can they follow you?
You can follow me on Facebook under Michael Byars, Instagram under Acquisition CEO, or you could go to my website at michaelbyars.com. So
awesome. And if you want to come out to the Allies Mastermind in 2 weeks, June 25th and 26th, Michael Byars will be there with a slew of other badass operators that are awesome in their space and asset class. We got guys that own mobile home distribution centers. We got guys that own 40 mobile home parks. We have Matter of fact, we have Robert Kiyosaki and Ken Macquarie's fund guy. I think his name's Marcirio. He's coming to speak on how to start a fund and raise capital the right way so you don't get in trouble. I'll be talking on, land home packages and startups, vertical integration. Mama Rood's going to be talking on short-term vacation rentals. We just bought another one a couple of days ago. Michael's going to be showing you guys on everything on M&A. So if you want to learn that, inbox me on social media, June 25th and 26th. If you want some real estate training, you can go to chrisrood.com. Otherwise, keep skilling up, and we'll see you guys on the next episode.